you're a part of the program. Senator McCormick, Guy has been there for 6 months or so as a working senator, and man, he's making an impact, isn't he?
I am so impressed with his energy and his investment in his work. He has dove in with both feet. He's clearly a very smart man. And what I personally appreciate is his connectivity to this region. As we all know, his parents grew up in Plumville and Punxsutawney, and he's very proud of that. And every time I see him and talk to him, he brings that up. And that, to me, is a real benefit to us to have a voice like that in Washington, D.C.
And to see him as involved as he is in what is really a new birth for all of Western Pennsylvania is really exciting. And actually for the eastern half of the United States, when it gets right down to it, he's one of the guys who's leading the way.
No doubt. And when you look at that round table and some of the conversations that happened, not just at that round table, but also in all of the presentations leading up to it, during my interview with Secretary Burgum, Secretary of Interior, talked a lot about the sheer demand for electricity that is coming our way. And for us to have Power Alley rebirthing is going to be very significant for this region. And while the focus has been on the Homer City Redevelopment Authority in that new project, we also have to take stock of the existing megawatts that we produce and how significant they are to maintaining this grid and what it could mean for those entities in the future.
Yeah, well, Secretary Burgum, speaking of people who are very, very impressive, he knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff, absolutely. And the way he was able to articulate the need for speed as it relates to permitting reform. And he was very clear to say, just because we're quick doesn't mean that we're effective and that we're thorough and that we're thoughtful. I mean, they have lit a fire under the bureaucracy to say, get it done quickly, but still get it done right. And that, to me, is the message that we have to continue to drive home, is that we all want this planet to be successful, to be usable for humanity, and to do things the right way. It's the only planet we have. And so we can't lose sight of doing it the right way, but doing it the right way can also be done quickly.
We talked about the connection between Carnegie Mellon event yesterday and what's happening at the KCAC tonight. But your conversation with Secretary Burgum really highlights the connection between state government and federal government, and how important it's going to be linked together and in sync with each other.
No doubt about it. And Secretary Burgum was the governor of North Dakota, obviously a very small state, very different than Pennsylvania in a lot of ways. But the one thing that we have in common is North Dakota had the Bakken Shale development. We have the Marcellus Shale development. And so the advent of vertical drilling, horizontal drilling, all of the technologies that have occurred have really given him a good footprint and understanding to lead his position as Secretary of Interior. And that's a very impactful position in terms of permitting and things of that nature. And so he brings that real experience to play. And we talked about the broader issues, what we're dealing with here tonight with Homer City, and unfortunately I'm on my way to Harrisburg, so I won't be able to be there in person, but I'm sure this is the first of many conversations that will be had as this project progresses.
With all of the announcements that were made yesterday, with all of the people who were involved, were there one or two highlight things that, you know, people might not have been as aware of or knew as much about that for you really stood out?
The international connectivity of all of this, the reality that the artificial intelligence race is essentially a race. It's almost like the race to the moon in many ways. And we have a race to advent ourselves as the leader of AI. And what we certainly can't afford to have are adversaries across the planet move further, more effectively, and quickly than us. And it's, to me, even greater the tie-in of energy independence, economic security, and national security. That now more than ever all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about what you just said is we think of in those broader terms of the security aspects of it. Actual local security is going to be a major component of what happens at the Homer City campus.
Sure, this is going to be a complex project with a lot of people coming in a lot of people who are local that are going to be working there for a very long time, but it's going to be an influx of activity, and that's going to have an impact on all elements of services in this county. But the developers are clearly aware of that. They've already had meetings with the emergency response community. They're very sensitive to how to figure out how to manage proper housing and things of that nature. But they're also, if you talk to the tradesmen and women in the union halls here locally, they're also draining those halls. The local labor force is going to be maxed out whenever it comes to the trades and the needs for people power to build this facility.
Earlier this morning, we had Mike McDermott from ICTC in the studio with us talking about a meeting that was held last week with Homer City Redevelopment and all of the superintendents of the Indiana County School Districts. There is some amazing opportunity available for a workforce, but it's going to have to be a trained workforce and a focused workforce.
A trained workforce, a focused workforce, and now a youthful workforce. One of the challenges that we've had is when we've seen the decline of electricity production and the decline of repowering of these power plants, we lost the funnel of labor that was experienced and prepared. Now, we still have some of that, but if you talk to some of the trades, particularly Sean Steffi with the Boilermakers, he will tell you he's lost a lot of quality manpower in his union hall because they have not had consistent and steady work over the years, and now that has to be replenished. And so there's a real sense of urgency of not only getting our young men and women into these fields, but also getting them trained to the expertise and the quality that has made our region stand out for so many decades. It's not just the power of the men and women that we have in those fields, but the quality of that work that makes us stand out from all the rest.
As the population stands right now, is there the threat that we'll bend and break, or will we just have to bend a little bit in terms of our ability to supply workers and make sure that the folks at Homer City Redevelopment have a really vibrant workforce from right here in Indiana County?
We'll have to bend a little bit, but we're already adapting, and that's very important. And to me, as long as we are maximizing the local labor force to the best of its ability, if folks have to come in to town and work here for a period of time, bringing wallets to our community is a good thing.
Yeah.
And maybe those folks will decide that they'll pick up roots here and stay here. And let's face it, we are a aging demographic. Our population has been declining, and there are only so many ways to replenish that. A declining population is not healthy for any community. And so us figuring out a way to stabilize our population and hopefully grow it is absolutely critical, which is, again, why the med school at IUP is another huge opportunity along those lines.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see what this place looks like in 10 years. You'd love to have that crystal ball right now, wouldn't you?
We would love to have that crystal ball.
The community open house tonight, you just said that you won't be able to be there because you're required to be in Harrisburg for important work there. What do you anticipate to be the reaction of the people there to the information that they will be hearing?
Well, that's a really good question, Todd. I assume that the Redevelopment Authority is going to come in and lay out the plans as they know it, try to dispel any rumors, try to answer any questions. And let's remember, this project is evolving in its own right. And so things change, schedules change, dynamics change. But in talking with individuals around this community, my sense is that there is a lot of curiosity surrounding this because let's face it, whenever this was announced, it was the largest capital investment ever announced in the Commonwealth. So we are, as a small community, hosting something really, really big. I mean, we are talking about tens of billions of dollars. Usually whenever we talk about investments in this community, it's tens of millions or hundreds of millions. Mm-hmm. Getting to tens of billions is a massive, massive investment.
Yeah, there's that natural tendency to be skeptical too, and that's something to overcome.
Healthy skepticism is okay. There should be some of that, but as long as we have an open mind to it, and we don't look for reasons not to want to support the project, we'll be fine. Yeah. We have to walk into this with an open mind, and we have to pay attention to what's going around in our community. This is our home. We want to maintain our quality of life. But from my vantage point, having this kind of investment only serves to enhance our overall quality of life.
You know, it's interesting that probably in the last 6 months you've not had as much time to talk about things like this as you've had to talk about the budget. But we've got a moment left. You're off to Harrisburg. Budget talks continue,
yes.
and we know how difficult that has been. For you, is the progress sufficient to get to where we need to go?
It is. We're talking. We're understanding our differences. We're trying to figure out how to reconcile them. We have started to agree on the things that we're just going to disagree on and move those aside and focus on what we need to do to get this budget done, to recognize the divided government we're in, the philosophical differences we have in terms of the vision for the future of this Commonwealth, but to also get a product in place that respects the taxpayers, has a long-term view, and also make sure that dollars get out to the necessary school districts and services without causing them an undue burden. And right now, here we are as we stand, we're in a position where we can still achieve all of that. We have several weeks, in my opinion, before there's any meaningful impact. So our focus is getting this as right as possible.
Grinding it out.
Grinding it out. Chopping wood, as we say.
Senator Joe Pittman, thanks so much for the visit.
Todd, thank you.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Worked it right up to the buzzer today.
At First Commonwealth Bank, we know that financial confidence begins with the right account for the way you manage your money. All of our checking accounts are packed with online tools, including Credit Score Manager with